The mullet are here. All right, after last night's 0-12 swing and a miss with the paddle tails, I figured it's time to start rigging them up. This is the guy that I was throwing. Really ripped up, bad condition. Yeah, basically I used it last year for last year's tarpon season, then stuck it underneath my seat just in case, and just haven't used it. It just sat there for basically a year. Then I brought it out last night and whacked the heck out of them, but just couldn't get hooked up. But a lot of that has to do with it's a year-old hook that's been sitting in salt water, so definitely going to have to repair that. Generally, I like to kind of just wing it until it's time, and it's time. The tarpon are out there, they're smashing the mullet at nighttime, hence it's time to bring out the live mullet trolling around, or my 9-inch paddle tails. So I'm going to show you guys how I'm rigging these up. I spent the last couple of days of modifying these and testing them to get a good workable solution. I'll show you the rig that I had before and the new rig. All right, let me show you what we're rigging up here. Basically, we're trying to imitate the mullet that are out in the channel. And I sell these 9-inch paddle tails, one in a full pearl color and one with pearl with the black back, and 9 inches, so they fit that bait size pattern that's out right in there. So matching the hatch is very important. So that's what we got there. I sell these 5 for $15, 10 for $25, or you can get 25 of them for $50. And then I sell some mixed packs where you can get both the black back and the pearl one as well. Secondly is the hooks that we're using. I'm actually using the 9/0 stainless steel hooks that I use for my vertical jig kits that I sell. I don't sell them separately, but I'm thinking I'm going to put together a kit just for these paddle tails. So keep an eye out on that. I do have the third component, which is these corkscrew type heads. And what they're made for is screwing into the front. And these have these points to keep it centering pin to center it, and then you basically corkscrew it in, and that's where your hook is going to be attached to for nose hooking these baits. Offset wise, if you can get a jig head, a weighted jig head, and probably an 8/0 or 9/0, that would work out good. The rigging, what we're trying to do is to get these paddle tails to swim correctly. But if you look at them as they are, you'll see the top of it is wide and the bottom is narrow, just like a fish. But the problem with that is that weight wise, the top here would be heavier than the bottom. So when you retrieve it in the water, it runs upside down, and that's not correct. So what we need to do is to weight the bottom of it so it's heavier than the top, so then it swims correctly again. Okay, so that's where these other components come in. Now last year what I did, and this last year's version, is I used these finishing nails from Home Depot. And it's basically just standard headless nails. And then I'd put 2 of them along the bottom here. And that was kind of my weight to keep them centered there. However, this year I'm utilizing these, which are basically river weights, pencil weights. There's a lead. And what they're made for is to drifting in rocky, bouldery rivers, and they won't get snagged, okay? But they're solid lead, very heavy, very dense. So comparative-wise, it would take 5 of these finishing nails to 1 of these lead weights there. So quite a bit difference. So that brought it to this part here where I went ahead and tested out running the long ways with a full lead. But then I found out, well, you'll actually see it in the video coming forward, that if I cut these leadens in half and run shorter pieces and stack them, it does a better job than one long one all the way across the back. Then the third component wise is how to get the hook to stay on to these corkscrew heads, because as they are, they'll just slip right off because it's just a round hole there. So I've been, for the last couple of years, testing different kinds of material that will hold that centering pin onto the hook so that it won't come off. So whereas if you have just the hook on there, once you cast it or you get a hook set, it'll just pop right off and you lost your bait there. So you need something on there. I've used little plastic tubing. I use zip ties. I've used cutting off the tails of like paddle tails, or even a plastic worm for bass fishing, and just sticking the little piece on the end there. That worked fine. But then I've come up with the best solution, and that is actually using from my bicycle tire patch kit. Or if I had one, I would just use the tube from a tire, is basically all these are. And the reason being is it's rubber, it's pliable. So once you stick the little, just a tiny piece is all you need, over the hook and then over the barb, then because it's elastic, it condenses right back over to the hook. And it's not like stuck on there where it's not moving. It's still flexible. So if you get a bite and it's lift up there, it's not going to affect it getting pushed down as that hook goes into the fish. But it's elastic, so it's basically tensioned on the hook, so it's not going to come past that barb. So it's solid. And that'll keep your bait centered on the hook there. So that's the other good new change for this year. But otherwise, components that you'll need is to do these. I use silicone spray for a lubricant. So when I'm inserting these lead into the baits, it's easier. And then I also pre-drill a hole by just using this computer Phillips head, which is basically just a little bit thinner than this pencil lead. Do a starter hole to make sure it's centered, and then I'll push those leads into it. These are very soft, pliable leads, so I just use some regular wire cutters to cut them, and there's no problem. And that's basically the rigging. So I'm going to head out to my personal pond there and let you check it out, how I'm going to weight these and test the different weights. Hey everybody, how we doing today? So we're over here at my private pond, testing out my big lures. This is a 9-inch paddle tail, and it's tarpon candy. The first setup we're using is about a half a stick, which is about 0.35 ounces, stuck in right at the lowest part of the belly. All right, let's test this out. Sinks nicely. Doing a slow retrieve. Oh, fish chasing it. What I'm wanting to make sure is that it's not spinning, and what speed that I could throw it that it's not going to spin. So that's a slow gradual. If I go a little bit faster, still not spinning, so that's good. That would be a decent moderate retrieve. There's some decent fish down there. And then if I throw a little bit faster, it's got good side-to-side motion, paddling on the top, not spinning. That's not bad right there. That's almost better than my 2 nails that I was using. Next I'm going to do another half. So these are 0.7, so these are 0.35 of an ounce. I'm going to cut it down the middle there. I'm going to use a little bit of silicone spray, a small Phillips screwdriver, and then that's going to create my starter hole. And I'm just going to go a little bit higher up and right above the other one, trying to keep it as centered as possible. Okay, hit it with a little silicone. And we insert that one in there. So that's about 0.7 ounces of weight on the bottom. Sinking a little bit faster, Slow retrieve, got that wobble. Still not spinning, so that's good. Rolling over to one side though. So definitely pull it and it's not spinning. So that's good. If I really give it a crank. Yeah, not spinning. That's just about right. For this third one, I'm gonna run a little bit higher and up farther, right at the gill plate. I'm actually happy with just the two, but since I've got the extra weight, all right, that's 3 cut half pieces, so about 1/10 of an ounce. All right, let's see. It's got less wobble, definitely no spinsies, so that's about just as good as well. Not a ton better, but yeah, not gonna spin at all, even if I crank it. Oh, look at those jacks in there. Those things doing in there. Here's my bigger pond. See if I can see a little better action here from a higher version. Yeah, not wobbling or not rolling. Oops, shark. Oh, fish following it. Yeah, that's swimming nice. Right side up, a little bit of wobbles. All right, so I think we've got ourselves a winner here. One thing I will notate is, if you want the ultimate bass hit, all right, get a 75 to 100 pound tarpon whacking these guys the way they are. It is brutal. All right, I'll be doing a video about my rod and reel setups and on top of throwing which one I'm using to throw these. But I catch a lot of tarpon using the live mullet. It's 180 degrees different. With the live mullet, you're basically, they're taking the bait and you got your bail open and you're letting them run. You're using a circle hook, so you're not setting the hook. Once you've given them time to run with the bait and get it down in their gullet, you just close the bail, okay, and you just hold on and they hook themselves. With these guys, and especially at night, it's just like bass fishing in regards to that hit, except that it's 75 to 100, 150 pound fish, and they hit it really hard, and they're taking off and jumping, and it's, the problem I have with filming it is that it's a 2 hands just to hold on to the rod. It's just that violent because you really have to get a good solid hook set with these hooks. It's not a circle hook, so it's not getting in the corner of the mouth and kind of levering itself to penetrate. You've really got to put a stick on it when you get a chance. Plus, you're dealing with them jumping and throwing the hook. So you want a extremely heavy drag when you're setting the hook, but you need a super light drag when they're jumping, so it's letting them play without pulling and bouncing the hook out. So definitely challenging. But yeah, if you want your arm ripped off, throw these guys in the mullet skulls. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll be doing more of these catch them with the artificials in future videos. All right, thanks for watching. Bye. www.allaboutthebait.com